1. Yo, what's up? It is Wednesday, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard, 9 p.m. East Coast. You are watching the trades. Let us know in the chat where you are calling from, watching from. We're going to have a great show. We got the vault watching. We're going to start in 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Let us know where you're from. Two minutes, and we're live on YouTube and Instagram. Let us know where you're from. We have Brazil watching. East Coast in the house. Today's going to be a very important show. Stay tuned. Get your questions ready. All right, we're about to start the countdown. This video has been brought to you by Breakin. Go to the website and register. Check out what they have to offer at breakconnect.com. Yo, what's up? It's Shadow Rockin' Pro 41 of the Floor Gangs and Knuckleneck Tribe. And you're watching the Trade show about breaking, hip hop, and the business of. How's everyone doing? It's been a while since I had the show The Trades. Last time I was on a live was with B-Boy Network Reacts over there at the B-Boy Network channel and here as well. We have a really great show, but before we get that, we gotta give I gotta clean house just a little bit. Clean house just a little bit. First thing I want to say is 89% of you are not subscribed. You guys are lurking. You guys are watching the content, yet you're not subscribed. I mean, I like the views, but you know, be greater if you guys subscribe. Guess what? It's free to subscribe. You just click subscribe button, click the bell for notifications if you like content like this and you want to be a debate bro and debate with me in the comments. You could go ahead and do that. Even though I don't like it, but hey, it's engagement. You know what I'm saying? And again, you know, like I said, you know, if you like the content and you want to have more interviews, and like for instance, next week I have an interview with Quick Step from Full Circle, and we're gonna talk about he was the last of Mohicans. You know what I'm saying? He's the last of the Mohicans, one of the last people to be one of the continuous b-boys from the 70s, 80s, 90s to present day. So that's going to be next week, Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. East Coast. All right. Now that being said, so I usually give a shout out to all the other sponsors, but this is going to be a very long show, and I want to make sure that we have enough time and enough engagement with the chat because I want to make sure the chat had because hey, there's a lot of questions that need to be answered and conversations that need to be had. All right, so uh, you know how this came up was obviously there was a lot of things that was happening as far the last 2 months, especially the fact that we just had the Olympics, and obviously within the breaking scene, there's a lot of things that we were not happy with. So, there was a lot of things being said online, but there was no central show for it. It was just basically, just a bunch of IG chats and stuff like that. And here's the thing, and I always say it, Instagram is good for the live, but then as far as like if I want to go back and watch the conversation, the interview, or the show, I don't I it's hard for me to just sit there. I don't have any control of the speed because sometimes if you want to listen to a podcast, you'll listen to it a little bit faster so you can go through the whole hour. And when it's in your pocket or whatever, it's not as accessible as YouTube or Spotify. So, I was like, okay, since we need to have a conversation, I went to the chat on Instagram and asked, okay, what should we do? Should there be a governing body? Should we not? And what I came to the conclusion was we need to have a conversation with different perspectives because everyone comes from breaking from a certain perspective, depending on the time you came in, the region you were at. It's kind of hard to have an objective view of breaking. So, what better way to kind of hear everyone out is to get different perspectives. So, right now, well, I'm going to go to the chat real quick. Uh, Mox in the house. Carlos in the house. Donkey in the house. All right. Just wanted to give a shout out to chat. I'm paying attention. So I'm going to be backing up a lot. I'm just going to ask the questions. And so we're going to have three questions for the panel. And then I'm going to open up to the chat. But, if we go on tangents, I'll make sure that we'll bring it back to the question. That being said, individually, up first, hailing from the UK, this guy is very controversial, especially if you see his stories. Help creating Soul Mavericks and help creating the Trivium judging system. We got my man DJ Renegade. How you doing, Kev?
What's up?
You like that?
Why am I first, bro? Why'd you put me in
Because I
first?
wanted you to be first. There's nothing you could do about it.
There's nothing I can do about it.
All
What's
right.
up? On this watching. Yo, what channel is it on IG?
It's on my channel. It's on the Pro for One channel. You can watch it on there.
Why can't I see it?
It's delayed. It's on there,
Oh,
but it's delayed. It's delayed. It's like 5 minutes, like 5 minute delay on
oh, really?
Instagram. So, but if you're watching on Instagram and if you want to go join the chat, go to the Pro for One channel, go to my bio on the top of my go to my bio, click the link on the bio to my YouTube channel, and the only way you could be in the chat is if you subscribe. I copied that from DJ Academics. Smart guy. All right. Up next, representing Elephant Graveyard. He just had entered the graveyard. One of the kids from the underground, and good, real, dope perspective that we don't hear a lot about and they don't give a lot of press. Representing Elephant Graveyard, we got Raul the Tool. Give it up,
Yo, what's up?
Raul.
Thank you
All
for having
right.
me.
Yes, sir.
I know I'm a kid
Can't
anymore.
wait.
I'm kind of old now.
Well, you're the
But
youngest guy in the chat in the
for sure,
panel.
yeah.
You're the youngest guy in the panel, bro. So you're a kid. Especially the Steve Renegade. You're a kid.
Your world's not mine.
All right. Up next, with one of the longest breaking events in the world, we got Cross One. Give it up for Cross One. How you doing, Cross?
What up?
Yeah.
Bro, why have you got like the Kevin Samuels? Hey.
Oh, Kevin Samuels. He said,
Is my
Kevin Samuels.
camera even on? Like it just
Yeah,
looks like it's,
yeah, we see you.
oh, okay. Well, on my computer, it just looks like a picture.
What the hell? Okay, but no, you're good. You're good. You're good. You're good.
Why I gotta be on top? on the bottom of this guy though.
You want to? Okay, you want to switch?
You know why, bro?
Okay.
I got the
Up
baby
next,
on here.
I need a counterpart
Like the
to
Brady Bunch.
someone that does cultural events. And this guy had one of the best events, and he retired it right away, all the way from Switzerland. We got, oh shit, I'm John.
Yeah, what up? What up?
Say it for me. Oh shit.
Oh shit!
All right. And last but not least, who basically took over the breaking scene in the US in a short amount of time, throwing one of the biggest breaking events in the US. Give it up for Steve Graham, aka Silverback.
Hey.
Hey, hey, thank yeah. Thank you guys so much.
Royal Wave.
A Royal Wave. That's that UK stuff right here.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Wait, hold on. Before I go, Bo Jim is handsome. That's what Bo Jim is. I don't know who that is, but that's
I know
funny.
it straight away. Straight
All right.
away.
So thank you so much for being here. I mean, like I said, I wanted a really diverse panel. And I was telling Renegade backstage is that even though we all might be in the same event, let's say a freestyle session or a silverback, we never have time to break bread. And maybe at the after party, but everyone's going crazy and going drunk. So it's hard to have like a good conversation with everyone. So thank you all for making the time to be here. And this is very important. I'm glad. You know, we have 21 people in the chat. I don't know if how many people we got in Instagram. Yeah, it's still going on. Okay. Yeah, it's delayed in Instagram, but like I said, if you're watching on Instagram, go ahead and go to the Pro for One channel, and you can join the chat over here. So that being said, so I have a bunch of questions because there's a lot of us, right? So I have 3 questions that I want to ask, and like I said, if we want to go on a tangent, you can go on a tangent, but I'll try to reel it back because you know everyone has busy lives, and we want to make sure that we want a concise show. All right. Okay, so I'm just gonna throw the question out there, and then whoever wants to answer it first. And again, get your questions ready in the chat. Once I have 3 questions. Once the questions are done, we're gonna go to the chat. All right. So, first question is just to get everyone's perspective. How were you introduced to breaking? Because you have a variety of ages here. mean, I just have to.
Maybe I
Let's
can
go
go
first.
first since I'm the youngest.
Okay. There you go, Raul.
I think I'm the youngest, but
You are. Yep.
what's up, guys? My name is Rahul, as Profile mentioned, Elephant Green, San Francisco. I grew up in the Bay Area, so I was actually I was raised in Pleasanton, California. I saw breaking for the first time when I was in high school. I was like part of a like talent show performance, doing some sort of like Indian dance that I barely knew how to do. I think I was trying to get at a girl back then. And I saw there was like another group that was doing breaking as like their performance, and saw it, was like intrigued. And then I went to Berkeley for college, so I saw Donnell Hall, if you know, you know, and the rest was history.
Oh yeah. Thank you, Raul. All right. Who's next? Before I pick you. Let's go for Kev. Kev, you're next.
So,
What's up? So how did you first got introduced to breaking?
London, England, of course. I think most of us, 99% of us, were introduced to breaking because of the Buffalo Gals video with Rocksteady Crew, Malcolm McLaren. It was on a music program called Top of the Pops, and when we saw that video, our lives were changed forever, basically. So
that was 82?
1983.
83.
Yeah. There's some people claiming they started in 1982. It's nonsense. 1983 is when it hit the UK.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
All right. Who's next? Let's go with Amjad.
Yo. I think I were introduced not to breaking but to hip hop in general in the early 90s with basketball. I live in the fucking forest, so I grew up in the woods, Tarzan style, you know the style. And then I was always super attracted to the streets and all the street culture. So basketball was the beginning, and then came hip hop movies, graffiti, breaking. It was the whole package for me. So I would say that my main thing was why Style Wars. Star Wars made me who I am today.
Okay.
Shout out to Henri Chalfant.
Henry Chalfant. All right. Now I'm going to go to Steve Graham. Steve Graham.
Yeah.
I never heard your story, so let's go.
Yeah, I got out of college in 1982, and I had heard about breaking. I went to New York. I was working at Goldman Sachs, and there was a place, the Roxy, in New York, and I actually went there one night, and that was probably in '83 when I first not in '82, and in '83, and I asked somebody to show me a move, which was a swipe. I could do it, and it sort of like a long story from there. But that was my first introduction to breaking. And I think the movie probably came out about a year later, actually, Beat Street, but it looked the same. Let's put it that way. So it was cool.
All right. And finally, Cross One. How did you get introduced to breaking?
I just seen a bunch of people doing it on my block, and then pretty much like a lot of people said, got introduced to all the elements pretty much together. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Okay.
we're good. You're good. We can.
So yeah, so kind of seen breaking first, and then not too long after, I copped my friend had a Run DMC tape, and I was just jamming it, and ended up borrowing it and never giving it back, and yeah, this was like I want to say late '83, early '84, and then not too long after, of course, Beat Street Breaking came out, and the rest is history,
Right. So, Raul, man, it seems like you're the only one that's from the 2000s. This panel,
New kid on the block.
which is crazy. That's a crazy perspective. Most of us are from like '83, which is, I mean, that's why you're on here, right? Because we want to get that perspective. All right. So good. Because again, I want to ask that question because in this conversation, we gotta know where we actually started. Because since most of us have been in the breaking scene for 30 some odd years, we saw this development from where Raul's from. You know what I mean? Where Raul started. We're already pretty much active in the scene. So it's good to kind of have him listen to kind of our stories and our perspective. That way, it could help shape some of the questions that's going to come from online, and even I might freestyle a few questions here. All right, so now we're going to get to the nitty gritty. Okay, the second question we got, and it's again, whoever wants to answer it first. This is a big thing within, especially competitors of this time and age, right? Most of the kids that are competing, demographic for the most part is about 18 to 35, but now there's a new demographic that's about 9 to 18, right? But this is mostly for the demographic of the channels that 18 to 35. How do you feel about regional style preferences and judges who with purely judge with these perspectives and values? I messed up my grammar, Kev. Sorry. So yeah, so how do you guys feel about regional style preferences and that leading the judging in these big competitions or competitions in general? Whoever wants to go first.
I'll let Kev do it first.
Really? I wanted to
He's
go
Mr.
last.
He's Mr. Judge's judge.
I mean, if that's
I wanted to go last because I'm just going to ruin it for everyone else.
Let's go.
I mean, I could
Can
go
I go
first.
last?
Yeah, cross. Go ahead. Since you threw it together, freestyle since November '97. Cross, why don't you go first?
I mean, I know it happens, but in at least in an international contest, it shouldn't be happening. You know what I mean? Like, you should have a whole palette of what breaking is supposed to look like and how everything's supposed to go down, and not really have a bias towards any particular style. You know, so I just what do I think about it? I think it's kind of whack. I mean, if it is prevalent, then I guess maybe get 5 different regional judges, and if somebody loses, then they really have no excuse. But yeah, it kind of shouldn't be happening. I think, in my opinion.
Ooh, interesting. All right. Who's next? No one wants to say nothing. I'm gonna go for Amjad. Amjad, how do you feel? Because Amjad, I'm going for Amjad. I'm going for Amjad because you
Go
had.
that way around and end up at me.
I mean, maybe.
But
All
the
right,
thing,
Amjad, because you had
because the
look, Amjad, you had one of the hottest like battles in the world, Circle Kings, and then you just retired it. And there was
yes,
a certain stylistic perspective that seemed like the guys who were always in the finals were kind of like within a certain style preference. So I'm gonna
of
go to
course,
you. How do
yes.
you feel? Yeah, how do you feel about that?
The question is that I didn't really understand the question because the grammar was fucked up. I was like, what does it mean? So I will wait for people to answer. So I don't really get the question yet again.
The question is, how do you feel like people that have a certain style preference in a big
Yes,
competition? Like for instance, Circle Kings had a big style preference as far as judging. He had a certain the finals were certain stylistic type of crews. Like, you didn't necessarily see, I don't know, like
yes,
Pokemon
yes.
in the
Yeah, yeah.
final. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Something like that.
So what's the question about?
The question is, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about having just a certain like style
Ah,
preference?
yeah, I
Do
feel
you like
good,
it?
man.
Are you for it? Are you against it?
Okay, the thing is that um, my perspective, I started Circle Kings for necessity, not because I wanted to be an organizer. I don't want to be an organizer, but all the jam was fucked up. So I was like, fuck, all the wrong guys are winning, all the young kids are following the winners, and the winners are doing tricks and falling on their heads. And I think the values of breaking were losing. So I was like, ah, fuck, I will have to organize it. Shit. So I did it, and actually the judges were basically my crew. So of course we there was a certain way that we wanted to judge and how we see breaking, and it was Circle Kings became big because all those people that were doing style and character and see breaking in a certain way were feel left alone early 2000. So my goal was to put lights on them, but I don't necessarily told the judge how to judge. They were just I told them don't be scared to judge for who you think win. But to make it try to make it short, I don't think we should say who wins, who lose, because there's no loser in artistic discipline. I think the judge favorites who they are, and the judge, and that's why they are chosen. So I think we are like enologue that are tasting wine. We can really see like, that this is a good wine. This is still not mature, so we can really judge. But it all becomes to judging preference at the end. I don't know if I answered the question yet.
That was good. That was good. Basically, you're saying you're biased. I like it.
Where'd the other
I'm
two
not
go?
biased.
Where'd everyone else go? Hold on. Oh, okay, I'm gonna get Cross back on. I don't know what happened. There's Raul. Raul,
Your
camera's
connection,
off.
bro.
All right, Raul, I don't know what's going on, so we can Raul. There you go. Okay, who's next now? I liked your answer, though. I'm John. I like it. I'm biased, and I like it like that. All
I think
right.
you should. I think you should just skip to Renegade because he's just gonna ruin everybody else's answers.
No, man, he's last, bro. Well, actually, let's
Raul,
ask
go,
Steve.
Raul. Come on, cousin.
Steve, how do you feel about what's being said so far?
Well, I guess my perspective is just from my own experience in some of the bigger events, like when we had the Silverback event. I wanted to make sure that it was more or less of a level playing field for. Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, a level playing field for anyone from around the world. So we wanted a really large judging panel. We wanted an experienced judging panel in terms of people who had judged, at the world-class level. So we wouldn't have really wanted biases because, we were putting up a fair amount of prize money and, there's just a lot on the line for everybody. So I like the balance. Now, for smaller events, it might be a different thing, but for the larger events where there's an international field, I think you got to respect that. If we were ever doing Silverback event again, I think we'd have at least 9 judges, just because I feel a little bit more comfortable that it would be fair to everybody across the board.
Right.
So that's the way I look at it.
Cool. Thank you, Steve. All right, I'm gonna go with Raul. I'm gonna go. Wait, where did he go?
Where'd it go?
Where'd he go? He's the last perspective. Oh man,
Is San Francisco in a valley or something? Because you guys have got crap internet.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know. My internet's okay.
Well, this webpage is drawing a lot of memory on my computer. I don't know why. So
Word, really? Okay, is he on yet? Okay, we're gonna go. I don't know where he's at. We're gonna go at least. Last one's Renegade for now. All right, Renegade, let's go.
These 3 guys here, I've judged all their events.
Oh wait. Actually, Raul's back on. Let me get Raul. Actually, let me.
Go, Raul.
Sorry, I mean, if you want to go first, I can go after.
No. I want you to go.
Yeah, well, I want Raul to go too. Sorry, I'm saying
I would like you to go first.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah.
Wait. Let me get some context too, because the thing is, Raul just threw an event, his crew event called Enter the Graveyard. He had 200 entries. Oh no, 70 entries. That's about 210 people for a 3-on-3. No real big sponsorships, and they did it on their. Oh, yeah, one big.
We had Red Bull. Yeah.
Oh, you did have Red Bull.
Yeah, I don't want to make it seem like we didn't have any help. Yeah, we had Red
Okay,
Bull.
cool. I wasn't sure though. But then, even independently, I think you guys would have done fine. You know what I'm saying? And there's a certain style that you guys attract, right? It's like what I call the U.S. underground Discord college kid crew, like Discord college scene. Sorry, but it's the underground. It's the underground. And it was really successful. It was like one of the bigger ones in the US. And I want to give you props for that. So, you guys had a specific judging panel. So, like, just talk about how you feel about it.
Yeah, first and foremost, I think it wasn't. I am here representing my crew. My crew threw the jam together. So I wanted to give them their flowers as well. And yeah, we did have sponsors. Red Bull actually came in. We had Motor City Street Dance, and we also had Breakin from San Diego. So a lot of community-based folks, but Red Bull definitely helped as well. In terms of like this question, I think I may be more on the side of Amjad here. I personally, I think from an artistic perspective, like I enjoy watching regional styles, and I think it's like really dope to kind of foster like specialized types of people. I think people should be free to break however they want to. I think like we should honor, styles across the spectrum. I think in terms of judging, I think candidly, I think it's impossible to remove bias completely because I think we're all humans and we all will favorite, a certain thing that maybe we do, maybe we can't do, etc. Um, and I guess like my perspective on jams and competitions in general is I think of them more as like art shows. And so I think of judges instead of like kind of adhering to a standard, more so being like curators of the art show. And so when you apply for an exhibit, you don't usually choose a curator that's like, as like vanilla as possible. You choose a curator that like has a bias because you're trying to curate like a specific style of art. And that's kind of how I think about a judge panel. So I'm for regional styles. I think if it becomes like a bigger issue in like international competitions, I think you really should pick around that. Maybe you pick like a more diverse set of regional judges. I think Cross said that earlier. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm coming from.
Damn. All right. Shoot. I like what everyone's saying so far. Okay. All right. Now, sorry to cut you off, Renegade, but now it's your turn to talk since you
Oh
created a
yeah,
system and
yeah.
everything.
I actually judged. Was it the first Circle Prince qualifier? Amjad, remind me. The one that was in
Uh,
Reading, was that the first one?
uh, the UK
You can't
one.
remember.
I
Yeah,
have no idea. I don't know who organized it. I don't remember. Maybe
it was
AZ Rock.
no,
No.
it was a guy that became rich later. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I remember because I think we'd spoken before, and I said to you, we'd spoken about your idea of the jam, like to bring it back to the core values of breaking, that you and your crew kind of like exemplified. And I remember asking you, because I was one of the judges, and I said to you, is there a brief for this event? Do you want it judged in a particular way, knowing what your taste was, right? And I think that's kind of the point. If you make it clear how your event, the vision of your event is, then it's not a problem. Do you know what I mean? Like, if your preference is for power moves, for example,
World Power
Crash,
Series.
what's it called? Crash Fest?
Crash Fest. Yeah.
Yeah, like Taufik wants a particular approach to breaking at his event. So if you state that in advance, then I don't think anyone would go to that event doing top rock and footwork. Do you know what I mean? So in that respect, I think it's fine. In terms of if you want the event to be more inclusive and fair, then I think you need to have judges that are educated or have a wider perspective about breaking, because there are definitely regional styles, but there's also like an overarching kind of like more fully inclusive way of judging and looking at breaking. I agree with Raoul that you can't get rid of bias completely, but I don't think that should preclude us from wanting to, right? I think that judging should be fair, most of all, and you shouldn't just judge on what you like, or else there's no point in even doing an event. Because you can just call in the decisions when you see the names. Oh, I like this guy's style, and I don't really like that jumping on your head stuff. So just ring it in. Why even have an event? You know? Why even have judges actually? Because they serve no function if they're just there to tick boxes and say, yeah, this is the style I like, and this is the one I vote for. So it depends on scale. It depends on context. It depends if you state up front what your intentions are. If you want the judging to push breaking in a particular direction that you like or whatever, or if you think that there's a gap, because I like with Crash Fest, I think there's a gap. There's some stuff missing from modern day breaking. Not enough boundaries are being pushed. So I think it's a great idea to have something like Crash Fest, so we can see some incredible stuff where they don't necessarily fulfill the whole picture of breaking, but they do have something to add to the conversation. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as we know what it is up front. That's my short answer.
All right. So, wait, we're missing Cross. We're having a Cross again.
You guys are in and out. I'm the one in
And
Brazil.
Cross is back.
On the crack
Good.
connection.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what you call a struggle stream. And it's going to happen.
Crash Bandicoot.
It's good. Yeah, there you go. Okay. Honestly, I liked a lot of the answers. And, some swayed on one side, some swayed on the other. And that's the whole point of this whole conversation. We wanted perspective. Get ready, chat. Get ready for the questions. Well, actually, I'm gonna do some questions from. I did got some questions from my Instagram earlier this week and today. Before I ask this last question, but as far as the chat, get ready for your questions. So, because we had such diversity in the panel, here's the last question. I mean, should breaking have a governing body? Like that's a question that's good. Why I want those questions I had before led up to this because we have different perspectives. Again, some similar, but definitely swaying on different spectrums, right? Different ends of the spectrum. So, because of what happened with the Olympics, and of course the chat with was it Bojan is handsome? Should we have a governing body in breaking? Should we even have it? Should we attempt it since we have maybe diverse spectrum of of opinions and perspectives? Who wants to go first?
I can go
Yeah.
first.
Okay, yeah, I'm John. Oh, sheep.
No, but I think we kind of already have a governing body because there's already some people that are trying to do, for example, undisputed. Undisputed is like who is the best of all those events to make it the undisputed champion. And also we have I think we look more like a tennis, which means like there's many competition, everybody throw their own competition with their own styles, which I like because it's diverse and it's like art, so everybody push what they want to push. And at the end of the day, I don't think we need a real governing body that decide for everybody. I like I like this kind of spread styles where everybody do what they want. There's so many competitions, and as a b-boy, you grow up, you're like, oh, I like that style, so I'm gonna try the BC1 stuff. Oh, me, I like underground events. I just go to underground events with no logos on the floor and no judges with iPads. Or oh, me, and everybody, I go to Crash Fest because I love to do those tricks. So I think there's food for everybody, and I really like the way it is. I don't want to have a uniformed scene where it would lose the diversity and the texture of this art form. So I think really like the way it is, but if some people want to do something, whatever, let's try.
Okay. Who's next?
I can go.
Okay, go ahead, Raul.
I think I feel similarly to what Amjad said. I think it's an interesting idea. I think obviously we've seen it done, maybe not well with like what happened with the Olympics. But I think there's a lot of examples in which it's actually gone well. I would take like the Bait Collective Profo from the Bay as an example. For context, like there's like a local org that kind of manages like shared resources, like event calendars, kind of all that stuff. And I guess it comes down to kind of like what the purpose of the governing body is. I think if it's things like, like creating safe spaces, creating opportunities for people, like visibility to external parties or sponsors, shared resources, like all that stuff, I think it's a good thing. If the goal is to make everything like rigid and adhere to like strict standards, then I'm not necessarily a fan of it. But I think that there's a lot of good that could come from it.
All right. Who next? And Cross is gone again.
Cross is gone.
Yeah, my answer is that bad. I got Cross kicked out of the live.
Since Cross get kicked out, before you get kicked out, let's go to Cross.
I don't necessarily think we need one. I think we probably do by chance have governing bodies, like folks said. Like events that are running together, like Undisputed when it was happening, which isn't anymore. It's only one person doing it now. And then when we had the Pro Breaking Tour in its earlier stages, when we grouped up like pretty much every promoter together, we were sort of governing, I would say, or we're just telling promoters, how they should run their event and, divvying out sponsorship allocations and stuff like that. But I don't think it's very needed, but, we kind of like I said, we kind of do it in a way, I guess. But overall, like say the WDSF, they run, sports breaking, which a majority of the underground really is not running with that. You know what I mean? So we have our core events, which a lot of them just run themselves, So I don't necessarily adhere to the whole we need a governing body.
All right. All right, who's next?
I guess I could go.
Steve, go for it.
I agree with some of the other speakers here. I'm not sure that breakers are necessarily governable or want to be governed, but I do think that we could be encouraging alignment on a domestic basis and an international basis, and encouraging people to collaborate with one another. And but governing body suggests or connotes a lot of other things that I'm not sure really fit with what the community is all about. That being said, if you're going to be competing in a structured environment like the Olympic, the Olympic movement, you don't really have an option to be as freeform as a lot of breaking events would be, or a lot of tours or series. So I just encourage alignment to start with, and collaboration. And if the community wants to compete in some of those other formats, they're going to have to work in a more structured manner than in a lot of the big and fun breaking events that we've all seen or participated in. So that's where I'm on it.
All right. Last but not least, Kev. You're always last. What's up with that?
I think it's essential at this point, to be honest. If we don't do it, someone else will, as someone else did. So I agree with what Steve said, that we start with alignment and then work towards some sort of federation. That doesn't stop people from doing local events, though. I don't believe in this or stuff. Like, you can have grassroots events with no rules and just like whatever, and you can have more elite level, organized, aligned, whether you call it sports or whatever else, but just that has protections, that is a central repository for stuff to do with breaking. Because right now, maybe if you go looking for breaking, you're going to come up on the WDSF stuff, which doesn't make any sense. They're not even part of the scene or anything. So I think we need a place, a space to have this stuff, and to be a bit more, take a bit more accountability for our discipline, which I think right now it's everyone for themselves, which is a bit weird. 50 years in and we're still like, yeah, I just want to do what I want to do, like I'm a rebellious teenager kind of thing. I think we can do better than that. That doesn't mean that you have to do it exactly like the governing body says either. It could just be a place, as I said, of a central repository. If you want to be connected to schools, it's useful to have a governing body or federation. If you want to get serious sponsors involved, it might be useful to have a federation. Like, everybody wants access to sponsorship, but they don't want to do what it takes to get sponsorship, which is a bit contradictory. So yeah, at this point, I think it's essential. I think It was going to happen eventually, and instead of waiting 100 years, we could just do it now. I reckon.
Ooh.
I think so.
All right. I like it. Controversy. I'm making it dramatic, guys. I'm making it dramatic. I just put in the chat. I put a poll. Governing body, yes or no? And so far, 75% in the poll, 86% says yes. Surprisingly, wow. That's pretty cool. I like that.
But
All right.
I want to say something more
Yes,
maybe.
go for it. Here we go. Argue, fight.
No, it's not a fight. It's a collaboration more. But I think the government body, in terms of Olympics and stuff, I think it should comes from our scene. So I agree with Kev. The only thing I don't agree with maybe is if we have a government body, then it's gonna how you say concentrate or it because it's art form is not a sport, which means that if you want people to do what they want, then they have to be diverse and grow their art in the way they want. So I might be scared that the government body might what's the term in English? I don't know. Generalize
Homogenize.
the what did you say?
Homogenize.
Yeah, exactly, homogenize. And I like the heterogenize. Heterogenize.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's my fear. But for the important stuff, so maybe for the stuff, I agree, we should get rid of the WDSF and do something from our own.
Oh, yeah, he said the thing. He said the thing. He's the first one that said this thing. Okay. I like it. So far, I'm gonna keep the poll up for 2 more minutes. So far, we got 27% says no for a governing body. 73% says yes so far. Not bad. I'm gonna keep it up for 1 more minute. Okay. Who else? Everyone speak, right? Everyone spoke.
I think. Oh, if I could add something
Yeah,
also.
go for it,
I
dude.
think
Go for it.
I think when everyone hears governing body, they think about like who's organizing competitions, like who's organizing like the judging system and all that stuff. But I think maybe to go back to your former point, I think like a governing body could also decide like if someone is accused of like sexual assault, like here's how we do this. If someone is threatening someone with violence, like this is like kind of like the code. Like I think there's a lot of value that could come out of things like that, instead of just kind of like now where it's like a he said she said type of thing.
Oh, good point, bro. Shoot, I didn't even think about that.
Good point.
And you knocked out Cross, bro. You knocked out Cross again.
You know, Sacross again, bro.
I think
Yeah,
I think
that was
also
so
to
deep that you knocked out
Every time
Cross,
it's
man.
you.
to add one more thing,
Yes, sir.
I think like there's often this idea of like a disconnect between like, I hate this term, but like the underground and like organized breaking. I think if you use like my career as an example, like people think of us as like the underground. I don't consider myself underground at all, but I think like for example, Vicky, my crewmate, was like in the process of like qualifying for the Olympics, and I think the fact that the Olympics happened and that there was, you know, some semblance of like professionalism around that actually extended opportunities to us as we do our jam. Like I don't think we would have gotten the turnout or the sponsorship. Every time I wrote like an application for sponsorship, I mentioned the Olympics and that like Vicky was doing it. We've also been getting like tons of like opportunities to perform for like museums and all these cool stuff just because like, you know, we were part of this like Olympic narrative. So I think like just because you don't participate in a more organized like sport style of breaking doesn't mean that you're not able to kind of reap the benefits of the visibility that comes with that. And so I think it's important.
Oh yeah. All right. Hey, anyone has anything else to say before I start going to the Instagram questions? And again, if you're in the chat, get your questions ready for the panel. If you're on Instagram watching right now, go to my bio, click the link, and join the convo right here in the chat on YouTube. All right. Okay. So let me ask the first question. First question I got from Instagram is from my man Rick the Ruler, AER, B-Boy, B-Boy podcast. He's in the chat right now. And this question is for Steve directly. With the Olympics not returning in the 2028 and possibly 2032. Is breaking worth the investment for the future, or is it like a depreciating asset?
I think that the Olympics are completely independent from the idea of whether something's worth an investment or not. The Olympics provided a big ray of shining sunlight for the community. It wasn't exactly the ray of shining sunlight that we were all hoping for, just because of the fiasco that sort of unfolded with, the Australian breaker and all that sort of stuff. But it did provide an incredible amount of publicity. And so, I think that's a good thing with respect to whether it's, worth investing in or supporting or giving money to this type of an athletic dance for the future. That I guess it all depends on who you're asking. As far as I'm concerned, it's certainly worth it for me. I like supporting the community. I've liked supporting the community from the beginning, and I'm going to continue to do so. The downside for us as a community of essentially being canceled for LA 28 before we even appeared in Paris 24 is that, we weren't going to be able to carry that momentum forward. And, the publicity of the Olympic movement does have the potential to bring a lot of not just attention and media coverage, but sponsorship support, philanthropic support into a community that's really in need of funding and need of support. And so, I was hopeful to see more. It doesn't look like we're going to be seeing breaking anytime soon again, if ever, in the Olympic movement. But to answer the question, yes, I think breaking's worth investing in and supporting, but it's a niche art form on a global scale. And, it's not the next coming of the NBA or NFL or anything of that nature.
All right. Anyone else want to jump on that question before I go to the next? Is it worth investing in, or is it just like depreciating?
We all invested in it before there was any money involved from the get go. So I don't think. I've invested my whole life in it. Like I'm gonna be in it regardless if everybody else falls off and I'm the last one standing. I'm still gonna be hip hop. I'm still gonna be, doing shit. So yeah, it's worth investment.
All right.
Yeah, we've been doing it for a long time, like 40 years of my life. That's an investment, isn't it? Yeah. Before there was money,
Yes, it is.
when there was money, after there's money, we're just going to keep doing this, right? And we'll still keep looking for funding, and hopefully it'll grow. And yeah, this thing's been ebbing and flowing for as long as I've been here. Sometimes it's super popular, then it goes back underground, then it comes back on top, then it goes back underground. In my short time here, I've seen that happen at least 2 or 3 times. So this is just another round on the cycle.
Not that short, sir. Not that short.
But what is
Your lifetime is not that short.
40 years.
What is important to understand is that what we do with our body, not us anymore, but the young kids, what they do is crazy. So I think people would invest on our lifestyle and our creativity and the amazing stuff that we do with the body, regardless with the Olympics. It's like, oh, what they do with their body is crazy. Okay, we might use this image for promoting whatever we want. So I think it's independent from the Olympics.
Right.
Yeah, I think if your metric is like whether or not breaking is gonna like 10x your investment and make you like a millionaire overnight, then like maybe it's not worth the investment. Like your success metric is like changing people's lives, like creating a space for people to express themselves, like promoting an art form, like 100%. Like your money goes a long way.
All right. There you go. Cool. All right. Again, chat, get ready for the questions. I'm going to go for the other question from Instagram. It's from Vitamin D, and whoever wants to answer this. How should judges be selected for local events? and we kicked out Cross. He's like, I don't want to like this question.
That's Raul again.
I didn't even get to talk yet.
I'll go for this one first, I guess.
All right, go
On
for
their
it.
fairness, if you're part of the local scene, you should know who's a fair judge and who's not. Like fair judging should be at the top of the list. You know, would you hire a whack DJ or a whack venue if you can help it? No, you'd go for something you trust, someone that you trust, something that's going to be good. So I think the same, maybe even more with the judges, that you really choose someone that you trust, someone that's not biased, doesn't suffer from corruption or nepotism, and then that's it.
Anyone else? How do you select local judges, right? Because if we can't afford to get like someone like Po One, right? Like we would all love to get Po One as a judge.
But then you should know your scene, right? Who are the best local judges? And then use the hosts. Find the good judges and use them all the time.
Yeah, everyone agree with that? Everyone got it?
I think maybe, yeah. I feel like the way we went about it for our jam was we thought about like the type of breaking that we like to see, and like the type of breaking we like to see, and balance that with people that weren't super like unfair. Like I think there's like a middle ground between like people that like a certain style and people that know when someone like crashes or something, or can like identify a moment. So that's how we went about it.
The Cross is back.
Yay!
Rahul, he brought me back after taking me off.
All right, so we go with that question. Should we go on to the next?
What was the question?
How do you select judges for a local event? So smaller local event. How would you like? We had Kev and Raul. They had their 2 cents.
I mean, it goes back to what we were saying. Like, it just depends on what you want for your event. You know what I mean? Like, if you want a certain style, you want a particular, way it is. Like, you pick in that regard. Like for me, for freestyle session, I know a lot of people probably wonder how I go about it. Like, going back to what we were saying earlier, where we I do say like there shouldn't be any bias, but I know that there are biases. Like there's certain judges that will judge more for power moves. There's some for more, footwork and stylish, aspect, and others even for like a more abstract feel. So going back to what Steve said, where he wants it more balanced. I mean, I don't necessarily have the budget to do 9 judges, but usually we do 5, and I try to balance them as much as possible. You know what I mean? So if you're gonna do a local jam, just pick judges that you feel like will get you to where you want to be in terms of people going through and making noise there.
Word. All right.
Ooh,
Respond on that question.
I have a question. How do you?
There you go. Finally, a question from the panel. That's what I like.
Well, I'm just curious because I don't really get to talk to Cross, but how do you decide judges for like B-girl battles versus B-boy battles? Like, do you look for anything specifically, or yeah?
It's pretty much the same. I mean, like I said, it's more balance. I don't particularly like to just like say for freestyle session, like the last 2 years. So we did it last year and this year. We picked primarily B-girls for the battle. I really wanted to have a mixed panel, but we wanted more for B-girls moving forward, more optically for young B-girls coming up to see the visual of B-girls in that position. So we wanted to bring in more B-girls to be in the hot seat and just be there. You know what I mean? So, and that's not to say that I don't think B-girls don't belong in that seat. I think there's just more people that have had longer reigns in that seat for say like a freestyle session event in order to have that seat. So like for freestyle session 4, our B-girl battle, like we're primarily getting B-girls to do it, and it's more for just to foster in that new generation of B-girls that are coming in, because they are seeing more girls in the prominent positions, more B-girls. Say like before B-girl battles were even a thing at Red Bull BC1. I actually threw the first B-girl undisputed, because I wanted to see that visually. I wanted, I think one B girl made it to Red Bull BC1 before then, and then I was like, man, there needs to be more B girl battles. So we did one at Undisputed, which is like at the time it was supposed to be the biggest platform out there, and then literally the year after, Red Bull BC1 fostered in the Red Bull BC1 B girl battle. So, and then we had the Olympics this year, and yeah, now the B girl movement is crazy. So yeah, that's pretty much. I mean, like I said, it doesn't change. It's like you still try to get a balanced lineup, and balance in terms of like what I want for the event, as well as balance for my budget as well, because I can't get I can't always get 3 international judges. That probably wouldn't be making sense if I'm doing the event in the US anyway. So try to balance it out.
That's cool. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And remember, we're open to have a discussion. Anyone have any questions for anyone else in the panel before I go to like the chat? The chat, all I see is Manny Fernandez style elements anniversary next month. And Ricky says Cross is taking short naps in between. We need some questions, guys. We need some questions, right? It's not a lot, like I said. Again, when we're at events, we don't necessarily have the time to break bread and to have conversations. And even at the after party, we don't really do, you know what I mean? Because everyone's too busy. So here's your chance to ask people these questions. All right. So for the last question from Instagram is from Wacko. And he asks, what are the pros and cons of seeking funding grassroots versus big events, big name events? What are the pros and cons?
The con is going to say no.
I'm John. I
think if I understand well, but grassroots events is like underground events or small events. The thing is that you don't have to let sponsors dictate your event. So that might be a big problem for big competition when they have a big sponsors. So host I cannot say oh shit on the mic, or I cannot curse, or there's a whack logo on the floor, or they want, I don't know, they put too much rules that we cannot do what we want freely. So I think that might be an issue sometimes for big events, for the format that they want to impact the sponsorship. And maybe in grassroots events where you just have random stuff that they don't really care, you can do what you want. In my event, Concrete Jam, I can say what I want, I do what I want. I'm not dictated by the sponsors.
All right. Who's next? Anyone next? Cross says no. If you ask me, no. Any pros and cons?
I mean, pros and cons of sponsorship on a smaller level or a bigger level, it's all the same. Like on a local level, you're just asking local level businesses to sponsor your event, and for on a bigger level, it's you're going more corporate or people with more money. So and like I said, the con is like them saying no, or just not answering your email, or not even opening up your thoroughly put together packet of information that you have on your event, and we've had it all. So I feel like we're in a good place right now as far as a scene. Like people are hearing us. People are, pretty active on the emails. We've had sponsors hit us up for a change this year. We'll see what comes of it, but yeah, I think it's good. Like there is an uphill battle for like more local events to get sponsorship, because it's just one small event, and most businesses they want to deal with a network of people. So that's why the Breaking Tour really worked well the past 10 years with sponsorship. I mean, as well as it's going to work in the breaking aspect, but yeah, because we had a whole network of events going on, and it's kind of a plug and play. What do you want? What is your path for your marketing? What regions? And they'll kind of give us what they want, and we tell them what will work for their business. So if you're an event that's just taking place one time a year, and it's in a certain place, and these smaller local brands aren't gonna really pay too much attention, I think, sometimes. So.
Anybody else want
I
to
think
that question?
I think to go back to another thing we were talking about, that's also where I think a governing body could actually be pretty helpful. Is like maybe a local event might not have the recognition of like a freestyle session, but like through this like organized system, it could get recognition, and then funds could be allocated that way. So you're not kind of just going in with no rep.
All right. Steve, how do you like, since you threw one of the biggest events in the US, how would you go about for someone that's smaller and local to try to get sponsorship?
I think the comments the guys gave are really the right ones. In the smaller grassroots events, whether it's in breaking or somebody's putting on a small running race or a tennis tournament, sponsorship is really just selling advertising. And so if you're putting on a grassroots event that's small and it's not going to be seen very broadly, it's not likely to generate an awful lot of sponsorship support from companies that might be looking to use events to promote their products or services. So that does present a little bit of a challenge. If you're looking for charity, and donations and support of a different form, maybe grassroots event can be okay. But there's a place, there's a place, whether it's breaking or any other field, there's a place for the grassroots events, and there's a place for larger platforms. And I do agree with some of the comments being made about governing bodies potentially being helpful. I'm a little concerned about it when it comes to breaking, because I just don't really think breakers want to be controlled or told what to do. And so you kind of got to thread the needle a little bit. But if there were an organized structure out there throughout the world, it's likely that there could be a whole cascade of breaking events of various different levels, from professional to amateur to youth, and all sorts of sponsorship opportunities would arise from that in that ecosystem, just like you see in sports like tennis or golf, where there's all kinds of different levels, from the local events, which are grassroots, all the way up to the major professional events. So, but I'll also say when we're running a big event like Silverback and running the entire pro breaking tour with Cross and so on, it was really challenging to get sponsors interested at all. And, so that's because you're just competing against so many different alternatives that are out there for sponsors, to put their capital into. And, so that it is a big challenge. And yet I think breaking in a lot of ways is in a much better spot today in 2024 than it actually was in, say, 2014, when I started sponsoring a lot of events and so on. It's moved forward in North America and globally, even though there was a pretty robust scene then.
Okay, now we're starting to get, we got some questions from the chat. I'm going to ask 3 or 4 questions. We're already about, let me see the time. We're about an hour in already. I'm going to go for maybe 5 questions from the chat. And again, jump in if you feel like you want to answer it. And again, maybe this question might spark a question from y'all to ask each other, because here's the opportunity to do that. All right. So Manny Fernandez asks, where do you see breaking in 5 years? I like that question. Where do you guys see breaking in 5 years? In the garage. No one has answered that. Where do you guys see breaking in 5 years?
Not much different from today.
Yeah,
Yes.
Really. There's been a little boost because of the whole Youth Olympics and stuff like that. And I think some countries were thinking that breaking is going to go, like, be more Olympic. So there were definitely some movements in places like China and possibly Russia, where there's a lot of youth involved right now because they saw the long term. some percentage of those kids is going to fall off now because it's not in the Olympics anymore, but some percentage is going to stay, and we'll have a nice little young generation coming through. You can already see that from Japan, from China, from Russia, a few other places where this at the youth level, and not all of them are going to give up tomorrow. So I think there'll be another generation of people to go to turn up. I think so. But in general, it's going to be the same. It's going to be some of the same events, maybe some new events. Yeah, just how it's been for the last 20 years or whatever. I'd be interested to see what happens with Red Bull. Because I think they're going to downsize a bit. I think they stayed a little bit longer than they were going to stay because of the Olympics. And now that hasn't happened, I think they're probably going to downsize a bit. That's just my speculation, though.
Anyone else want to answer before I move on to the next question? Oh, I'm done. Oh, shit. Sorry, I missed it every time.
No, no problem. I think I was at the group session where you have all those talented kids, and I really see China coming super big. So I think the big shift in 5 years will be like the new superstars will be like people you don't know yet because they were so good, so young. They were maybe 9 or 10 years old with so much swag, moves, musicality, and everything that we've never seen before. That I think there's gonna be a whole new wave of people that gonna just bomb rush the scene. So I think Asia will go really big, and that most of the thing will go from there because I was amazed of what I've seen. And I think for Red Bull, I don't think they're gonna downsize because, as I said, I think the B boys and B girls, what they do with the human body, represent exactly what Red Bull is selling. So energy, which means I think they will stick to it. And now in Rio, it's 17,000 people for the next BC1. So they always increase the stadium and the audience. So I don't see them going downsize.
Anyone else have anything to say?
I think to dovetail off of what both Amjad and Renegade were saying, I can even see it in like our own community of like San Jose. There's like a ton of new kids that are excited about breaking. It almost feels like breaking is like cool again. I think from like a infrastructure perspective, I think it's cool that now if parents want their kids to learn breaking, they're not sending their kid to learn from like the seedy guy at the corner of the skate park who's like spinning on his head. Like they're like, oh, this is like an Olympic thing. There's some like accreditation almost and some trust in that sense. I think a cool like outcome of that also is that there's going to be more people who want their kids to learn breaking and they're going to need teachers or they're looking for teachers. And so I think hopefully there'll be kind of better infrastructure around like people teaching breaking. And hopefully that means that more people can kind of make a career out of teaching instead of just like competing all the time, which I think will be a viable career path for a lot of like older B-boys and B-girls.
I think so for me, like 20 years ago, I think Polsky had asked me the same question, like what do I see in the future, like 10, 15, 20 years from now? And my answer was more prize money being divvied out from like, hopefully 1 to like top 16, and I feel like we've done that in the past. Like say when Steve was on board, we were he did top 100 at his event.
Yeah.
We're doing top 4 because like keep it a little heavier on the top. But I feel like in the future, I think we're going to go back to that. Go a little bit deeper down. I think there's going to be more categories. I feel like you have the kids, you have the teens. You have the over 40. I think, we're probably going to be moving closer to over 50 soon too, because some of these guys from the 40s are actually getting to their 50s. And I feel like that's fun, like
Yeah.
the 40 and up is super fun. I mean, there's more people in the 40 and up right now for freestyle session because I think that's the era that we're known for, that it's already at like 20 participants there. And like, that's more than the youth battle or any of the other categories, So I think there's going to be more emphasis on categories, and I think if events don't fall in line with that, I think it's going to be a little bit harder to get some of these younger or older people to go to the events, because there's nothing there for them other than just watching, because I don't think a 40 or 50-year-old is going to want to battle some like 10-year-old kid, But I mean, it happens. It happens, but I feel like when people are more evenly matched, it's cooler, So, that's what I kind of envision in the next 5 years. I feel like too, there's a little bit too many events. So I mean, I'd love for it to be lightened down a little bit. I like what was said earlier is more collaboration. I think if you're new in the scene and you want to throw an event, I think you should probably just get with somebody that's already doing the event and help out and learn the ropes before you get your feet wet and do it yourself. I think that works more for the scene versus like 10 people in the same locale trying to do an event every week, and it always ends up on the same weekend that like 3 people will do an event, which sucks because you have these new people coming into the events and they go to an event and it's not that good. Sometimes it only just takes that one event that they go to that's a fail, that they're just like, yo, like I don't want to go to these events anymore. And that's not to say like everything that I'm throwing is a banger. You know what I mean? Like you're doing the tour, and sometimes sometimes it doesn't work out. And it is what it is. But and just making it more fun and fun to go to. Like I've been listening to people say like some jams are too long, which I feel like I'm saying that there's going to be more categories, which usually
It's like 12 hours down.
which leads to a longer event. But if your category is only 2 hours long, then some of these people are just going to go to that event for 2 hours and bounce. But
so this is the first time I'm going to say something, and I think what you're saying about like the young, like new promoters working with the older promoters, like for instance, they can have a jam the day before the big event, and maybe they could do a qualifier for like do the prelims prior to, just like Massive. Like Massive has like their qualifiers on a Saturday, and then their main event for grandma to sit down and watch is on a Sunday. Something within that, something with like I think that collaboration is because you're bringing fresh blood to with fresh eyes, right?
It just gives more opportunity for people that are coming from out of town to come, and want to participate in every day, So
yeah, exactly. Like have something every day.
But it goes down to saying like, it's a long weekend,
Yeah, hey, I mean, better have like 2 5-hour events versus like a 14-hour event. Like,
I mean, I can't front. When I was actively breaking, I lived for those weekends though. Like, like if a jam was 8 hours, I wanted to be there for freaking 8 hours, dude. Like, I wanted to be at B-Boy Summit for 8 hours. I wanted to go to the panel discussions and watch the battles and bust in the circles and check out all the booths. You know what I mean? Like, I'm there for it. You know what I mean? So it's funny that some people just want to go and just battle and just bounce, but that's the world we live in these days.
That's
so
just what it is.
if that's what some people want, then that's what they want. And we just have to figure it out. So, but like I said, what I see in the future is more categories, and whether that is for event specific categories or an event that has all the categories, I just see more categories. I see different ones. I see, I would like to see promoters come out of nowhere and just take over, like, I mean, I feel like a movement's coming with music wise. I feel like, there, like we had our era where it was like, the live stream music. And then, like for us, like, for me personally, for freestyle session, we opted not to do the live stream because I just was like, there's too much with this music, like the restrictions were crazy. So opening up the playlist. But I feel like, even like my playlist preferences may not be the same as these younger kids coming up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of new music out that I bang to too. Like I'll DJ in the clubs and I bang a whole different playlist, like, and I'd love for some of those joints to be played at jams, but it's kind of like taboo or off limits sometimes in some people's in their brain, But I think there's going to be a lot of movement, like say like a couple years ago, like open styles or all styles was like trending down, and then all of a sudden dancer style came out of nowhere and it just blew up again, So now that's like taking over the social media crazes as far as people sharing stuff, you know what I mean? So there's gonna be some surprises, and I'd love to see it. And all these kids rolling out of the womb like doing air flares and head
In
spins.
diapers.
I mean, they're gonna get older and they're just gonna be better, So I'm loving where it's gonna go, So,
All right, real quick, I'm gonna skip a few questions in the chat. I want to make sure that because like we're almost 120 in, and I want to make sure I'm not gonna skip everyone's question, but I'm gonna go straight for the good ones, in my opinion. All right. So the Pomona kids asked, is there a clear defined pathway in the US for the youth to get into the Youth Olympics? This is why I want to ask this question for people in this panel. I think you guys can help answer that question. Who wants to go first?
is there a clear path?
No, of course no.
Fair. All right, Kev. So what do they do?
The WD7 haven't really made anything clear. They keep changing their minds. They advertise that stuff's going to be for the Youth Olympics, then they change their mind just before. Plus, there's no guarantee that the USOPC, Steve could probably are going to send people to Dakar for breaking. They didn't send people to Argentina. Why would they send anyone to Dakar, especially as breaking's not in the summer games next time? I don't think that the US are going to even care about it. I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think that path has been made clear yet. So I guess everybody's just kind of waiting in the wings.
Okay.
But I would say
who's going to pay for it?
I would say it's the same as anything before. I mean, the governing body's still the same, so I guess it's just kind of wait to see what they say.
Right. For the U.S. kids, I think it's right. First of all, I'm not quite clear on what that pathway is going to be, but I assume that WDSF will end up making that clear, and then USA Dance, which is the national member body, will make it clear. But ultimately, the U.S. Olympic Committee would actually be deciding whether they are going to send any competitors to the Youth Olympic Games. Back in 2018, when it was taking place, I had been involved with the U.S. OPC through ski racing because I was involved with the ski racing board. So I knew some of the people, and they had told me, I guess in 2017, they said, hey, look, there's a cap in the Youth Olympics. At the time, it was 75 individual athletes and 2 team sports per gender. And they said, we are not going to send any U.S. breakers, even if they qualify, and they'd let us know that in 2017. And the reason was, first of all, we only include sports or athletes from sports which are permanent fixtures in the game, not like a test sport or a demo sport. And second, we only include athletes from sports which are using the Youth Olympic Games as basically a training ground for the actual Olympic Games. So that does complicate it a little bit, but so it's a little unclear to me. But I believe I had heard that that maybe the U.S. will ultimately get behind the Youth Olympic Games for 26, assuming that breaking is actually included when the dust clears. So we'll find out, and I'm sure we'll find out soon. And the picture is going to become increasingly clear as to what role within the Olympic movement WDSF will have when it comes to breaking. And so that there's probably some people that have questions about that right now. And I don't know that the Olympic movement, is incredibly interested in breaking, because it didn't really come off probably how they were hoping it essentially was made into a mockery a little bit, unfortunately. But that, you know, and so I think there's a lot of question marks long term with regard to what place would breaking actually have within the Olympic movement, and what place does WDSF have when it comes to breaking. We will see.
There you go. I didn't really even realize that WDSF was still part of that one. Okay. All right, let's go to.
Well, just so you're clear on that,
Yeah.
in the Olympic movement, there's only one governing body per sport at the international level, and breaking, whether we like it or not, you know, back in around 2016, the IOC defined breaking as a discipline within another sport for Olympic purposes. They define it as a discipline of the sport of dance sport. Not that we knew anything about it, but that's what they did. Sort of like the shot put or the 100-meter dash is classified as a discipline within the sport of track and field. And there's really only one international federation per sport, and the international federation for this dance sport is the WDSF. Whether people like it or not, that's just the way it is. And you know, but it's not impossible. Some other federation could end up, you know, bringing breaking in. I don't know if, you know, gymnastics would take interest in breaking at some point in time, or, you know, if breaking could spin out and create its own federation, but that would take a huge amount of work. So not to steer the conversation away from the Youth Olympic Games in the US, but, you know, there's probably a lot of questions that are going to clarify themselves over the next several years. And it's going to be really expensive for WDSF to continue to even manage breaking, you know, because they only generate a couple $1 million in revenue per year and barely break even as a federation. So how are they going to fund all this, absent of bringing in sponsorship for breaking? And what sponsor is going to step up and provide them with funding? I don't know. We'll see. Time will tell. You know, so I didn't mean to steer us away from
That's all
talking.
good. No, that's the whole point of this conversation, to bring up stuff that, you know, I wasn't even aware of. Here, I'm gonna go for two more questions and then we're gonna wrap it up. Let's see. Non-Post Yang asks, this is for everyone, whoever wants to jump in. How can we fix breaking's PR for the general public? Historically, it's been terrible. Crappy movies. What happened in the Olympics speaks for itself. What do we do moving forward? How can we get better PR?
TikTok.
Mate, a
I think-
governing body.
Oh.
Like, we're back at the beginning again.
Say that again, Kim.
It's the governing body. It's a federation. We're back at the start again. That's it. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
I think
You said the general public, right? You're not talking about your 5 friends or whatever. You're talking about the general public.
Mm-hmm.
A federation
question
that
says.
represents breaking, AWs, etc. is going to go. That's the only way. Sorry.
Yeah, but on the flip, you know, Kevin, look at basketball. The governing body in basketball is I think it's the IBF, International Basketball Federation. Who's paying attention to that on any, you know, people are paying attention to the NBA, you know, and you know, so there is a governing body, or you know, you take the sport of, you know, golf has been in the Olympics, and there's an International Golf Federation. That's the governing body. But really, the PGA dominates, you know, everything globally. Same in tennis, you know, and you know, so these, I don't know that the path to the promised land is a governing body, but I've been involved in a lot of organized sports. I don't have any problem with the idea of a federation and a governing body. But you know, I'm not sure that alone is what would improve our PR. I mean, what improved the PR for basketball, you know, frankly, was the emergence of the NBA, and it, you know, dominated, frankly, you know, global culture in many ways. But you know, the NBA also has a structure. It's organized. It's sort of a governing body of its own.
I think to go off the NBA example.
But that is it. It's not just a bunch of different events, is it? It's like NBA. So by anything but name, it's a federation. It's a governing body, right? Plus,
That's
none of them
effectively
had
what Cross is running.
none of them had the
That's what the
experience
pro
that we
breaking
did
tour
that
is.
we have to fix.
I think the PR has been fine. I mean, yeah, it didn't steer the way we wanted to steer, but the fact that we're even getting any PR is a major step for us as a whole. Like we didn't get zero PR. I was doing events for, you know, 20 years before Steve came on board, and I think we might have been a blip on like rap pages, a couple pages on Vice or something, nothing really major, like maybe get invited to the morning show before our event, but like we didn't really get anything. You know what I mean? We didn't get a write up, and if it was a bunch of generic questions. So the run up to the Olympics really posed a lot of great PR. Like Steve said, we got billions of dollars in marketing just off the back of being in the Olympics. What did the core group of like the entire scene do with that PR? I feel like some people just use it as a way to just complain. Like, like it's what you do with the PR. When things happen, like say like the ray gun incident, it just gave me an excuse to talk to a bunch of people about breaking and let them know what the real deal was, what we have going on. Like I don't think a lot of people looked at that situation and people are still heated about it. People still trash it like, oh, that incident, like what? Like there was really no incident other than the PR that came out of it was really negative, and they made a crazy highlight video of the crappiest moves ever. But like, I mean, a lot of those moves, like you see those at everyday events all the time. Like it wasn't anything out of the ordinary. Like I see people do that stuff all the time, but nobody's making a highlight reel out of it. You know what I mean?
I'm
But
glad you
Yeah.
want to say something.
like yeah,
Yes.
like
Okay, sorry.
push good stuff out, and like we're all responsible for PR. We're all responsible for the betterment of the culture and how it's perceived. Like we're doing it every day. People are like letting loose on social media all the time. Like we're all our own PR entity. You know what I mean? So
So I will add something maybe is that b-boys from the 90s, they were fucking rough. So any parents who would meet like any b-boys or b-girls would think like, what the fuck is this? How those dudes, like it was hard on education, hard on like at least in Europe they were like pretty rough, fighting at every jams. But now I saw a shift in the last 20 years where like I would say like socially they were not so privileged, the dancers where they come from, to like really like normal kids, college kids, even in Asia, rich kids, like, oh, the rich kids do breaking. So there was a shift, and I think the PR are really the dancers, like in the NBA, like Steve said, the what you see online. And then any parents who meet like the new teachers and the new events where everybody's smiling and not fighting anymore, that's the best PR, because you influence like all the parents, like every little studio, every little jam, every little stuff. And that's the best PR for me, I think. And when you see the maybe also stance and all the social media about dancing, it's becomes really huge for kids. And I think the the best way to promote ourselves is by becoming who we are now, like more friendly, more less fight in jams, less more normal people that are breaking, talking to parents, and like, okay, I feel comfortable as a parent to leave my kid to this guy. But before it was crazy, at least in Switzerland and in Europe, like they were like just thugs.
yeah, I mean back in the day, like we had to lie about us doing a breaking event. Like we had to call it something else. Like Freestyle Session 5 in '99, I had to tell this church that I was doing a freaking Boy Scouts of America talent show. It wasn't even a breaking battle or a hip hop anything. Like we couldn't say that. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you brought up that you're doing anything hip hop or anything like breaking related, they just like shut the door in your face and just tell you to kick rocks. Like Like
So yeah,
we're in a
so
different place now. You know what I mean?
exactly. So we show that the PR is working, which means
Yeah.
like it's better now.
Yeah, and you know, yeah, you could say, oh man, like I see somebody saying disagree with Cross. You know, ask anybody around the world. You know, but all these people around the world that are talking, they don't go to events. Like, so who cares what they say? Like, I don't care what they think. You know what I mean? What I care, what I care about is the people that are actually going to the events. I care what they think. Do they think the jam is dope? Do they think the scene is dope? If they do, then we're doing our good due diligence. You know what I mean? And then that core group goes out and blow horns to the world that this is what you guys are missing. You know?
Yeah. I mean, you know,
Also,
so what I was gonna say is that's one thing. There is less toxicity as the elders change guards, there's definitely less toxicity. I mean, look at us. Like, you know, before if you would ask about an elder, yo kid, when can I get out of here and smoke some weed? Like, now look, like we're all pretty much professionals and we conduct ourselves well. No one's barely talking over each other. You know what I mean? Like we're all here listening and like, yo, like this is like to me, this is a good sign that we are growing as a community. Like we are getting more mature and being a little bit more articulate in how we communicate. You know what I'm saying? So and this show today has demonstrated that. All you guys have said some excellent things that, you know, has given me ideas and, you know, making me reflect. So like congrats to y'all, man.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm
I
with
think
Amjad though. The perfect PR is like, you know, just, you know, face to face and what they see, what the parents see, because they do feel safe with us too. Like
Exactly.
they're having what should like they're having what are they called in sports events out in the front of freestyle sessions? Sometimes they have the you know, they set out
Campfire.
the barbecue, like what do they call it?
Tailgate.
Tailgate, yeah, they have tailgating things at freestyle session or like even some of the events over in Vegas or Arizona. You'll see parents be like barbecuing outside. It's like, I can't wait to my kids battle. You know, like it's pretty crazy. You know,
yeah,
you never saw that before. Never saw that before.
It's also great. I mean, I think there's a lot of positives that have come out of this whole Olympic thing. And, you know, in that, you know, just looking at it in North America, you're seeing a lot more movement of kids into breaking, competitive breaking. A lot of people in a lot of different cities doing a really, you know, good job putting the events on. And so that's one of the areas that some of the guys know I'm interested in seeing us in North America develop our youth breakers, so they're really among the top in the world. And there's a lot of things we need to do that well. But that is, you know, a great thing. And if you look at just some of the different types of events that are taking place around the world and domestically, it is impressive. There's a lot of positive energy, and a lot of the promoters who are either running a series of events or a tour or sometimes just a big event have done a really good job in attracting sponsorship that, at least from my observation, was, you know, we wouldn't see it as frequently 10 years ago as you do today. So there's a lot of good that's come out of all of this. And yes, I think it's right that, you know, if we were coordinated, we could do a better job with our PR. It is a little bit funny that after the Olympics, you know, like a month and a half or 2 months after the Olympics, people were still arguing about breaking because Reagan got ranked #1 in the world, which was hilarious. And no one was arguing about kayak. No one was arguing about the canoe guys or the archers. But people are still, I was showing up to business meetings with people that knew nothing about breaking. They knew I was involved in some way and they wanted to talk about breaking of all things. So, you know, sometimes you can flip a negative into a positive, and some of the things that came out of the Olympics, while negative on the one hand, it did give us, you know, sort of that ray of shining sunlight on the other hand. So I'm optimistic for the next 5 years. I'll believe it when I see a real, you know, governing body governed by breakers, governing other breakers come together. But I'm all for the alignment first and everybody collaborating for sure. You know, that's one thing.
I mean, today is the first start where we actually have different scenes, so that's good. I mean, this is the first real conversation. I mean, there has been conversations on Instagram, but not on YouTube and not with different perspectives. And that's the whole reason why I want to do this, because we all have different. And it's like, and did I think some people edge towards some people? Yeah, the assumption I made was true, but this is the first time we're really talking about it, and people can actually reference this now. And I'm so happy that you guys were able to take time out of your day for this interview. Let's do one more
Good night.
question, and then we'll. I know, yo, I'm Johnson, Morocco. What time is it in Morocco right now?
3 o'clock, 2 in the morning.
It's been on for an hour.
Yeah, he looked like he's been lamping on a beach somewhere.
We can sleep all day
Yes.
tomorrow. Stop fronting.
That's
He's
my
on-
life. The beach.
He's on a surf trip, right? A surf trip.
Yeah.
Dang, there you go. Okay, this is more of a joke, but I just want to end it off in good spirits. Ransom Bojan says Reagan is best breakdance girl in the world. That's all. I
Until the
want to
23rd,
say.
no?
Huh?
Isn't it until the 23rd? Then she gets reset.
Is it?
I
This
think they,
month?
Yes.
I think they redid it already.
I
They
think
did
already
they?
redid it.
out.
Yeah.
I think they came out with new rankings. I didn't look at them closely, but I believe they did.
But officially, it would expire on the 23rd, I think.
Yes,
Okay,
because they put the rule.
Who was even looking at those rankings in the first place? I mean, really, like.
I wasn't. That's
The
why I asked
media.
y'all. Like,
Well, the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, BBC
Yeah,
News,
the media, bro.
Magazine, and basically every major periodical in the world. So, we did get some attention out of it.
for sure, for sure.
And-
I mean,
actually-
yeah. Go ahead. Who?
We have to ask MJ because MJ is he was the guy in WDSF that had to take care about the ranking system, because in the B-boy and the B-girls that they choose to be in WDSF, our representative, they told them, oh, you have to give us a job. So MJ had to do the ranking. I heard about inside the WDSF.
MG?
MG, yeah. Not
MG,
Michael Jordan,
he's
sorry.
right. He's wrong. Yes, I'm MG.
I was like,
Well,
why
I
is
can
Michael
tell
Jordan
you,
doing
MG.
that?
MG.
Like Michael
I can
Jackson.
tell you that that's a lie.
That's a lie.
They
Because-
revised it, but they revised it pretty quickly. But this is what happens when people from really outside, are trying to micromanage, the breakers. And you did have a small group of people involved, but there was a much larger group of people originally involved, and for a variety of reasons, I think they got kind of pushed to the sideline. And this is what you end up with, is these kind of issues. It kind of was what it was, but they're correcting it now. They'll clean up their ranking system, but I don't know what the future holds for WDSF and breaking. I really don't, because one way or another, they're going to need to fund it. Somebody's going to have to pay for it. And, I don't see a long line of sponsors lining up at the door to do so for them, but we will see.
All right.
And we'll,
Yeah,
Well, that's-
and usually going back to the governing body, when you are governed, like usually you pay like dues and stuff, and I just don't really see too many breakers trying to pay that. I mean, they'll be like, I know even with the WDSF with the judging thing, like, in order to be a member and to get doing judging, a lot of people were just like, well, I'm going to pay $200. I'm not guaranteed a judging spot. And then people just started doing the math and just trying to figure that out. And a lot of people were just like, nah, like, or if they did and they didn't get a gig, they were just like, well, why did I do it? And then they started complaining. And then it's just a whole mess with that, So I don't know, if people want to get governed, then they have to be prepared for all that things that come with being governed. You know what I mean? So, I know we're at the end.
and the WDSF business model, the business model they have at WDSF in ballroom dance, they tried to impose on breaking, which, back in the day when we were involved supporting the Youth Olympic Games, I had sort of said to them, I just don't think this is going to work. Their business model is basically to charge what they call a granting fee or a sanctioning fee to sponsors. To organizers. So you get somebody putting on an event, and they're actually having to pay a fee for the privilege to put on the event to WDSF. And that's going to be really difficult in the breaking community, to get, real authentic organizers from the breaking community. Can you imagine them paying $50,000 or $75,000 to the world organizing body for the privilege to run an event? And then, the other piece of their business model, because their financial statements are public, so you can see it, is they do charge these, what they call adjudication fees or certification, and they want all their judges certified, which they kind of had to do for the Olympic movement. So it's understandable that they would do this, but imposing that type of a construct onto an artistic community, a breaking community is really difficult. And that's why I think they're just going to struggle. They're going to struggle with it. All power to them to give it a try, but I think they're going to struggle. And if they have people from outside the breaking community, really outside the breaking community, who are paid WDSF representatives, more or less micromanaging the breakers, that's going to end up, creating some issues. And then just, lastly, I'd say when you saw snowboarding get taken over by the skiers, the snowboarders run everything. If you look at beach volleyball, got taken over by the indoor volleyball people, but in the Olympic movement, the beach volleyball people run everything. Not quite the same with the breaking, so there's going to need to be some changes, I think, if WDSF is going to, sort of retain its position, as some form of a governing body over breaking at this world-class level. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. You know what I mean? Like, I have no idea. Like I said, that's why I'm having this show, because I'm learning something thing or two as well. All right, so we've been hour and 46 minutes in. I think we should end the show here. Would you guys be open again to continue this discussion maybe in a few months, as far as like see where our heads at, go over current events and breaking? I like this panel a lot. Thank you again. Thank you for the time. Before we sign off, let's have does anyone, let's go down the line for if anyone has anything to say to the audience, the 39 people that have been, or the 40 people that have been consistently watching on YouTube. I'm going to start with Cross One, because I don't know if you're going to get cut out.
No, I changed my browser, so I'm good. No, I mean, if people have questions, I'm a pretty much an open book. I've always have been online. I mean, I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. I do have my moments where I start getting busy and I get backtracked a little bit, but I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. I'm pretty open with questions. And yeah, freestyle session next month.
Yeah.
That's to be crazy. So I'm still getting that together. Pro breaking tour. We've been doing it the whole year. This is like our 10-year anniversary. Big up to Steve for always supporting and being down with us, and moving forward next year, we're going to still be doing it. We have some big announcements coming that will be taking place at freestyle session most likely. Yeah.
Cool. Oh yeah. All right, I'm going to go down this line. Raul, you got anything to say to the audience and the people that have been watching?
For sure. Yeah, I think thank you, Profo, for having me on here. It's super dope to connect with all the people on this YouTube live, especially a lot of people I've never really talked to in person. So yeah, appreciate it. I think, Enter the Graveyard Volume 2 happening at some point in the future. Stay tuned, keep watching the footage. I think it could be really easy to feel kind of like doom and gloom about like the future of breaking, especially with everything that's going on. But I think maybe my advice and like words of wisdom to everyone is, if you enjoy breaking and you're doing it because it makes you happy, don't ever forget that. And ultimately that's like what the art form is supposed to be about. So keep creating, keep pushing, keep doing right by you and your scene.
Oh, all right. Steve Graham, any last words?
Just getting off of mute. Well, it's been, great to talk to everybody, and this format is one I'm not, all that accustomed to, but I'm also reachable and, willing to express my views and exchange perspectives with anybody at any time. And, I'm kind of hopeful for the future for breaking. And, things don't always go the way we want them to. And we saw that, with the recent Olympic Games, but we can still parlay that into something positive for the next several years, and we'll see where this all goes. But, I'd be more than happy to connect with anybody who's interested to just exchange ideas.
Cool. All right, I'm John, all the way from Morocco. Oh,
Yes, baby. Yeah, thanks, Profo, a lot. I really appreciate it. Although it was fucking 3 a.m, so I go back to bed. But thanks for the opportunity. It was a really nice chat with everybody. I'm also reachable if you have any question or any sponsors. I might come
There you
back.
go.
I might come back with Circle Kings if I
Shut
find some
up.
funds.
Please
Yes,
do, man.
boy.
Please
It's like
do.
yes, but I need to find the perfect stuff. But what I want to say, yes, be kind to each other, support the scene, and peace.
All right. Circle Kings Arthritic Edition. Just kidding. All right.
Arthritis.
We got DJ Renegade. Kev.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, thanks for the invite. I thought it was interesting. Different perspectives and stuff, which is always good. I think breaking's in a decent place. Like it's been better and it's been worse in the past. It's up to us to build the future and where it goes and hope for the best and make it happen, right? I'm super easy to find. Yeah, anytime, any place. Come chat, write me, whatever. I always respond. Unless you're trying to get clever with me. My stories are still the best thing ever. And yeah, look after yourselves, innit?
There you go. All right. Thank you so much. And before we wrap it up, I want to say thank you for all the guests that's been on here for the last almost 2 hours. I'm Jod, DJ Renegade, Cross One, Raul, and Steve Graham. You can also find me on Instagram at PROFO_FLGZ. This has been The Trades, the future of the breaking industry. Peace. And I'll see you guys
Peace.